Hey guys, how's it going? It's Trevor. First of all, I just want to apologize for the lack of posting on Monday. I was really sick, and I guess most of us, well, I guess I know three of us that have been sick this week, so it's kind of weird. It was like we all got sick at the same time. It's like the brothers of YouTube can catch what the other person has over camera. Really strange. But anyway, so I'll be posting today, which is not Monday, but hopefully I'm feeling better. So I was actually in the hospital last week for a while, and then just trying to regain how today and how this week is going. So anyways, this week's topic is coming out, and I'm going to talk about how I kind of came out and how my mom found out. Once my mom found out, she told the rest of the family, so I didn't have to come out to them. That was my mom's side of the family, and then I'll talk about how I came out to my dad's side of the family. When I first figured out that I was trans, I started to be part of a community in Calgary. I'm now living in Vancouver, but I was living in Calgary for most of my life, and I started to become part of a queer youth community out there, and started to meet more people in the gay community, in the lesbian community, in the trans community, and all that. And it was really good to be around people who understood me. And so for the most part, if I wasn't with that community, then I still went by my birth name, and so I was kind of living two separate lives, I guess. I was kind of like girl by day, trans boy, and drag king by weekend and night. It was kind of just how I was comfortable at the moment, especially in Calgary. It was really hard to be trans. When I finally started living full time as a male, I came out to like my teachers and like my therapists and support workers and friends and stuff, and started living full time. And it went really good. Everybody was super supportive. My family had no idea. By this time, my mother wasn't living in Calgary. She was living outside of Calgary, and my father is on the other side of the planet. Well, not planet, but he's in Halifax, which is like the other side of Canada. And my grandparents and stuff, like everybody there lived in BC. So people either lived in the West Coast or the East Coast, with the exception of my mother and her husband, who were about an hour and a half outside of Calgary. So I didn't really have to tell them. I could go about my entire daily life living in Calgary as a man, and nobody really needed to know. But as once I started living as a man, and I created a new Facebook page. I didn't change my name on my old one. I left my old one so that my family and stuff who didn't know, and people who didn't know, and I didn't want them to know, they wouldn't find out via me changing my Facebook status, like my Facebook name or my gender on my Facebook or anything like that. So I left that, created a whole new Facebook page, and only had essentially my friends from the queer community that already knew I was trans on there. Nobody from my life before that didn't know I had come out yet was on that Facebook page. And then I was actually dating somebody at the time, and I had posted something on my new Facebook page about how it was a struggle, and how I wished that I could come up with the courage to tell my family because I missed having them around all the time, and yada yada yada, your basic like emo woe is me status. And my mother, who's not on my Facebook, somehow found this new Facebook and commented on that status and was like, if you ever want me to be a part of your life, and if you ever want my help, just call me. And I didn't really know what to think of that status. I was still in the mind frame that my mother would like disown me, or that my family would disown me, just from so many stories that I heard about how people that I know that came out and their parents stopped talking to them. They stopped them from being able to see their siblings. Their grandparents stopped talking to them, and like they pretty much were just like alienated from the rest of the family, and I really didn't want that. So I kind of got angry with my mom writing on my status, because it almost felt like she was invading my privacy, and she now knew something that she had no right to know. And I didn't really know, like, even though it was a very nice comment being like, I'm here for you, if you need anything, call me. But I got really angry by it, so I sent her a message on Facebook, to her Facebook, pretty much saying, this is what it is. I'm a man. I've always been a man. My name is going to be Trevor. Like, blah, 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 blah. You can either deal with it or not deal with it, but I'm not dealing with the drama. Like, if you want to be a part of my life, fine. If not, then fine, and whatever. It was kind of a pretty mean message, but I wanted to get, at the time I felt like I needed to get the point across that this is who I was, and this is how it was going to be, and she couldn't change my mind. And the message I got back was very short, very sweet. It just said, "I know, hun, I've known for a while, it was just up to you to figure it out, it wasn't up for me to tell you." And so that was really cool. And my mom she's really good with my transition. We have like other issues. I didn't always live with her, so we have, some other stuff that we don't necessarily see eye to eye on, or we don't agree with, but my transition she is completely supportive of, which is really amazing. And it was just really cool. Like, the fear of being abandoned by my entire family was like out the window. And my mom likes to talk. My mom likes to she's a talker. So she told everybody in my family on her side, so I didn't have to come out to them. Everybody knew within like a week, I'm sure. And they all started adding me on the Trevor account, and it was really, really cool. For my dad's side of the family, it was a little bit different. My dad's side of the family, I haven't always been super close with, but my grandparents on my dad's side of the family, I used to be really super close with as a kid. Kind of grew apart as I grew older, trying to figure out myself. And I didn't really want to come out to them in like a "this is the way it is, deal with it" kind of way. So what I did for my dad and my grandparents and my dad's sister is I wrote a letter explaining what transgendered was, because I knew my grandparents would be very confused by it. Explained where I came from, ensured that it had nothing to do with them, ensured that it had nothing to do with the way that I was raised, and I also let them know that, I would always be, to my grandparents especially, I always let them know that I would always be their granddaughter. I wasn't expecting them to call me by my new name. They just needed to know that this is what I was doing, and was the process that I was going to be going through in order to become this person. And I haven't seen my grandparents since transition. I've only talked to my grandmother once via Skype. In that conversation, she did call me Trevor. And my reasoning for not seeing my grandparents is just because, like, my grandmother is she loves us to pieces, but she's very critical, and I'm kind of a chubby guy, and whenever I go there, she insinuates on letting me know that I'm chubby and fat, and that I should take better care of myself, and, all that kind of stuff, which she doesn't realize that I do take care of myself. I swim all the time, I eat great. It was just medication I was on a couple years ago that ballooned me up, and it's just taking a while to get the weight off. But so I haven't seen them, and I'm not sure how it would go, because they're very Catholic. They're very, my grandmother is a very judgmental person. My father seems to be doing okay with the transition. We don't talk very often, and when we do talk, it's via text message or email. I don't think I've spoken on the phone to him in years. He does come out to BC, and my grandparents live in Kamloops, and he comes out to BC every summer, or every second summer, and we will meet for lunch. And once he was here, he stayed at my place the night before he had to fly back out. But it's awkward because we don't really know what to say to each other, because we don't really know much about each other anymore. But he calls me Trevor. He tries really hard. When we're hanging out, we went to my aunt Carla's a couple of years ago, and we were all sitting around, and instead of calling me Trevor or my birth name, he would be like, "Hey, you," and so. But he's trying. He does accept it. He does still talk to me. This Christmas, I actually got a card, and it was the first time I'd gotten a card from him in which acknowledged it was a Christmas card for a son, and that was a really big moment and a big step. So coming out for me, I had some difficulties when I first came out that I'm not going to get into, because there's nothing, it was fine. It sucked. There was some hospital stuff that had to be involved, but that's not really, I don't think that it's important for me to talk about. But coming out to my family and friends was a really good experience for me, and I didn't really have any problem being segregated because of my transition. I've never had any problems coming out. I'm completely and 100% open at both of my jobs. I'm a supervisor at Cineplex Entertainment here in Vancouver, and everybody knows. All the kids that work for me know. And I'm also out at I also work at a pet store here in Vancouver, and all my bosses know, all my coworkers know that I'm trans, and it's never been a problem. My transition isn't what like affects my day-to-day life. I would say more like my physical health, and maybe like my anxiety and stuff would probably affect my life more as a day-to-day basis and cause more issues and more roadblocks than my transition has. My transition doesn't really come into play with like relationships or people that I meet because I'm 100% open. It's one of the very first things I tell people is that I'm trans. That way it's out in the open and there's no questions having to be asked. So that is my coming out story. Sorry I talked for a really long time, but coming out stories are really kind of hard to shorten into 3 or 4 minutes. And yeah, that's about all I got to say about that. I will post next week. I'm going home next week to Calgary for a week, so I will try and upload. I'm leaving Sunday night and I'm taking Greyhound, and it's about 17 hours, so I'll try and record my video for Monday before I leave, and then hopefully I'll get it up for you guys on Monday afternoon once I arrive in Calgary. And maybe if not, I can make a video. I'm so excited I get to go like see my dog and my girlfriend, so that'll be pretty awesome. Sorry. Anyways, I hope everybody's doing okay. And sorry if this video was long and boring, but I don't really have much else to say and much time to edit it or anything, so I'm terribly sorry. Anyways, I hope everybody's doing okay, and I will see you all next week. Remember to be kind to one another, but most importantly, be kind to yourself.